0610 Focus. Fantasy Focus.
Happy November to you, Rabbit on the first day of the month. Welcome into the Friday edition of the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast.
Rabbit. You don't know this? It's too late.
I know. Well, I said it this morning when I woke up. Yes.
Okay. Well, I just realized when you said it that I didn't, and now I'm upset.
Well, I'll explain the tradition to Matthew. There is a long-standing tradition. I don't know if it's good luck. I think it is good luck. I think that the implication is to incur good luck for the month. The first thing that you say on the first day of the month is Rabbit. Or if you text someone, you text them Rabbit. So every day, first day of the month, when I wake up, I text Chapin 2 rabbit emojis. Do you not do this with Beth?
No. Our rabbit discussion is different. I'll just leave it at that.
This explains your bad luck.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that you've never done bunny. But I thought it used to be bunny, rabbit.
Oh, really?
That's what I learned.
I've literally never heard that.
I've never heard this at all.
No, me
Like,
either.
it's not one of these things that, like, I've heard about and I just haven't done it. Like, I've never heard this before.
A lot to unpackage here. I thought this was generally accepted. People just knew what Rabbit was.
I need a poll.
Apparently, I'm part of the vocal minority.
Have you heard of
Rabbit,
first thing you say on first of the month is Rabbit?
Or bunny, rabbit.
I think it's possible. This feels like there's a chance. This could be like close to 50-50.
I'm
like,
older than Field, so don't tell me I'm confusing it because I've been doing it longer.
You're not older than I am, Stephania.
Barely.
She is. She has definitely been doing it longer.
Matthew's still back on soap on a rope.
We had a whole, literally our pre-show meeting was entirely about soap on a rope. I have no idea how this show gets anything done. And by the way, I should just point this out as long as we're completely off the rails here. And just saying, like, not only do I not know how anything on this show ever gets done, I have no idea why people listen to this show, but they do in droves. And I'm very upset at everyone because we ask everyone to, all we want you to do is download and not listen. But apparently the month of October is our most downloaded month in the history of the 06010. Most listened to, most downloaded.
That applause
the biggest
is for
numbers
all of you out there downloading.
For ignoring us, for downloading. We just care about the clicks. We don't want you to listen to the content. You'll enjoy it more if you just click it and don't listen.
You said the most downloaded month ever. Sure. That's a very different thing than the most listened to podcast.
We think it's the most listened to one. What do you think, Secret Squirrel?
Unfortunately, I probably think it's the most listened to month as well.
It's the most listened to month in the history of the 06010. I think, and I believe this is the 12th year of the 06010.
That is accurate. Yeah.
So in 12 years.
Wow. See, for those of you out there that are saying, hey, nothing good comes after you turn the age 50, look at Matthew. After the age of 50, he started the most successful run of podcasting that the history of fantasy football sports has ever seen. A lot else going on today. 5
years after I finally get rid of Nate. There you go. Finally success.
By the way, it's also Jersey Day.
Nate. It is
National Jersey Day.
It is National Jersey Day. Our thanks to our friends at the NFLPA and Fanatics. For outfitting us. You are going back to Minshew Mania.
I was going to say, I might just never change.
Right.
I might just leave this on forever. I wore this yesterday, albeit I shaved my mustache, which...
I know.
Sorry to the people.
What about
the mustache?
More importantly than your mustache, what about your legs?
My legs have not been shaved.
I got
yesterday.
I got so many comments on Instagram and Twitter like, yo, your boy's legs. You got to do something about it.
I got hair shaved. I tell you, the internet was they were biting yesterday.
They were.
I don't know. I mean, so the funny thing was,
did you have a filter on that made the.
Well, that's what I think it has to be.
What happened was
that was the case.
My own wife was like, What happened to your legs? I was like, she's like, do you have that hair? You have legs? I was like, I don't know. We sleep in the same bed every night. You tell me. The answer? Filter. I think it's filter issue.
Though she might not know.
I just like the fact that when you said rabbit, Chapin went shave. That was her little thing back to you.
That's right. That was a good point. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I believe.
My legs, I got dark hair. But you know something?
What's that?
It's also like a compensation issue. I can't grow facial hair, so I can grow some leg hair. That's all.
There you go. Nice job, Stephania. No comment on your legs, but you are. You went Jimmy G.
Is this shocking to anyone?
No, it's not at all.
And also, some of us know how to pick a winner. And by the way, I think Jimmy G knew that I was going to wear the jersey today, and he went out and had the best game of his career.
How about that?
To celebrate the best month of the 06010's history.
That's what it really was.
Jimmy Garoppolo holding off Nick Mullins Once again, an important game, just barely holding off Nick Mullins.
Green is not a pretty color on you.
Ooh,
Let's be clear about this. I have pictures from yesterday that actually would suggest otherwise.
It's a good point, actually.
Actually, I was impressed by your costume.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, was impressed by your Army.
You were a tree, right? I couldn't tell what that was.
I was NFL Live. I was on NFL Live yesterday, and the theme was obviously Toy Story. So
you were one of the Army
I was
men.
one of the Army men.
No, it was
Buzz
great.
and Woody were taken, so went with an Army man.
Well done there. A lot of fun on Halloween.
A lot of fun on Halloween.
Instagram.
Secret Squirrel. Real quickly, we'll do everyone's costumes. Obviously, you went Lions.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a Lions. I got a Kerryon Johnson jersey here, which is fantastic. Keith, who I am stoked on, Joshua Cribbs.
From? You know this, Keith? You know where you went to college, right?
Kent State.
There we go, baby.
Woohoo!
Kent State. Love it.
Josh Cribbs jersey. Thirsty Kyle is in
Saquon, yeah. You know where he went to college.
Yes, I do.
We are.
We are. And then Jackson, random new guy Jackson.
We're working on
wearing that's Goff, right?
Jared Goff jersey. Yeah.
Is that Jared Goff or Jared Goff? For those who may have missed Katie Nolan's costume last night.
Katie Nolan's costume was terrific.
Funny. Yeah,
it was very funny. So she went as Jared Goff.
We got a guest here today as well. Sam, longtime listener to the podcast.
Yep, our friend Sam wearing a TJ Watt jersey.
Ooh, there you go.
All the way from California. Throw out for
TJ Watt. TJ Watt as opposed to JJ Watt.
Well, yeah, because she's a Steelers fan, so she got the Steelers player, not the Texans player.
Yes,
it's usually you get them from the team that you're a fan of.
Damien is wearing my polo jersey. He's wearing the jersey that I wear.
Damien is the only one who didn't dress up. Thanks, Statapillar.
Statapillar's not wearing anything. I, of course, I had a lot of. I thought about my little Cooper Cup. I have a Terry McLaurin as well, but had to go ultimately with Waller the Baller, number 83. It's the first year I think that we've done Jersey Day that I haven't worn a Redskin. So, which tells
you about 4 years too long,
right? Exactly. Anyway, so Waller the Baller. You guys know I love Darren Waller. So yeah, number 83 on the field, number 1 in your hearts. He's the man.
Football.
Let's talk football.
Rewind. Fantasy news
from the National Football League.
This is the instant replay.
We had a game last night. 49ers take care of business 28-25 on the road in a short week in Arizona. They are now undefeated, 8-0 halfway through the season. But there was a surprise star last night. Well, there were a few of them, but one of them was for the Cardinals. Kenyan Drake, who had been in Arizona for like 100 hours by the time the game actually began, finished with 15 carries, 110 yards with a touchdown, 4 catches for 52 yards.
Is that
plus
good?
A 2-point conversion, 28.2 fantasy points.
Feels like it's good.
If that once he had the 2-point conversion, it became good.
Sure.
162
total yards, most total yards against the 49ers this year. Beats Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
Like who had for like the top 2 running backs against the 49ers this year will be Christian McCaffrey at 2. Okay, that makes sense. And Kenyan Drake 2 days after he gets there from Miami.
They had allowed a single touchdown to opposing running backs up to this point in the season, and then Kenyan Drake scores on the opening drive. So let's just listen. We understand our yes, believe it or not, we are not super optimistic about Kenyan Drake. Hours have to be acquired. Hold on. Yeah. Hours have to be acquired against a very difficult San Francisco 49ers defense. An Arizona Cardinals offensive line that was without multiple starting offensive linemen. So believe it or not, we are a little bit less than optimistic. Yeah. He had a great night. Until David Johnson returns, is this as simple as, hey, David Johnson misses next week, if he does, I should say. You're just going to roll out Kenyan Drake until Chase Edmonds and David Johnson return and do so with confidence?
Yes and no.
Okay, good.
So am I rolling him out there? Yes. I don't know how you don't, because, I mean, just the volume of work. Right. The volume of work, right? I mean, like, he got 19 touches, right? But in terms of rolling him out there with confidence, no, because we've seen this from Kenyan Drake before, right? We've seen him have big games before. I mean, like, on bad Miami teams, like, not necessarily this year, but in previous years at Miami, and we've been like, oh, what? Free Kenyan Drake. And then for whatever reason, like, we've seen this big playability. We've seen him have monster games, and you look at their upcoming schedule. They're at Tampa Bay next week. They're at San Francisco again. Then they've got a bye week. And then they're at they're home to the Rams. And so, listen, they obviously the 49ers are a great run defense. And Drake had, a monster game against them. But, it's a short week, and they were traveling to Arizona. So Tampa Bay's a very good run defense here. I think as long as David Johnson is out, and we expect Chase Edmonds to be out for a while, as long as David Johnson's out, yes. Am I starting him? Yes. But am I starting him with confidence? And I think it's a no-brainer, and he's turned the corner now that he's in Arizona. He's a fantasy god? No, I don't.
Emmanuel Sanders had a monster game last night.
Do you disagree with any of that?
No, I'm good with you on that. I feel the same way.
And one last thing on Kenyan Drake here that I think it's important to, like we always say, sell high after a big performance, and that's always sort of the obvious thing, and you're not going to be able to trade him right now because he's just played. But I'm just going to say that to me, what this performance is, more importantly, is this is a bit of a death knell to Chase Edmonds' fantasy value. When David Johnson comes back, he's David Johnson. I have no worries about Kenyan Drake taking significant touches away from David Johnson. I am worried about Kenyan Drake taking work away from Chase Edmonds.
And vice versa, by the way.
Yes.
Chase Edmonds, when he returns, means that Kenyan Drake no longer, at least in my estimation, will be somebody you play, assuming David Johnson is back.
I agree. But it feels like Chase Edmonds is going to be out longer, Stephania. Yeah.
It feels like Chase Edmonds will be out longer. It feels like David Johnson will be back by their next game.
Emmanuel Sanders had 7 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown. Second straight game. Well, his second game period with the 49ers. He has scored a touchdown. Looks really good right now. And Stephania, you got to feel really awesome about your offensive performance between he and Jimmy G, who had a career-high 4 touchdown passes.
This felt like they were really clicking. They were totally in sync. And I don't necessarily think this is going to be the roadmap for Emmanuel Sanders going forward, but it certainly looked really good last night.
It did, Matthew. But this
and in the post-game press conference, or not press conference, but on the field, talking with Aaron Andrews, Jimmy Garoppolo said basically, when asked about Sanders, just talked about the fact that he's picked things up quickly. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's a pro, and that they're already on the same page in a lot of ways. That it's been he's been impressed with. I'm paraphrasing, but in essence, he's been very impressed with how quickly Emmanuel Sanders has picked everything up, and again, not surprising given his success in the league and how long he's been in the league.
As Emmanuel Sanders posted on his own Twitter account today, he's a professional chains mover, and he was last night, including scoring a touchdown. Again, as I mentioned, his second in as many games. Maybe Garoppolo's an interesting Week 11 streaming option. He plays against the Cardinals again, that time at home. You've got guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson on a bye. For those that are thinking ahead by a week and you have the roster spot at the back end of your bench, might be a worthwhile sort of a forward-thinking ad.
I mean, listen, it's tough, right? Because, Garoppolo looked great. Like, give him credit.
But they throw the ball so infrequently.
I was going to say, it's the run-heaviest team in the NFL. Having said that, they play Seattle next week.
Yeah,
Seattle's right. Would be a great match. Yeah, that'll be a. Yeah. Are you going?
No,
Stephania's going to that. Look at you, boondoggle. A mid-season boondoggle. Usually the boondoggles happen in the offseason, but let's hear it for Stephania for a mid-season boondoggle, figuring out a way to fly cross-country.
Monday Night Football. My hope is that...
What's your hope?
My hope is that Mina will decide to come to that game.
Sure.
It's just a short jaunt for her.
It is a short
busy
jaunt
right now, I don't think.
No,
so maybe, look, if you're committed to your team, Mina, this is a challenge.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm flying across the country to go to mine. Maybe you want to come join.
So let me just calling out Mina Kimes. Let me rephrase that for Mina.
Did you see Mina's tweet reply to me last night when she posted something and I responded?
I did not see this exchange.
Yeah, well, take a look. She said cocky Niners Stephania is my favorite development in 2019 or something.
Interesting.
She thinks it's a development.
It's definitely not a development. She hasn't listened to the 0670. She's clearly just a downloader. I'll just say this. Mina, what Stephania is asking is, like, can you also shirk your responsibilities and boondoggle your way up to the Monday Night Football game? That's what she's asking, right?
Sounds like a challenge right there.
Sounds like a challenge.
Sounds like a challenge. Let's get to what I think is perhaps the biggest question of the week.
Oh, and my whole point of bringing that game up, Field, was just know that the Seattle's defense is bad. Seattle's defense is bad, and so that Garoppolo could be a viable streamer next week. Yeah.
Right. That's a good point there. Yes, the Seahawks defense has had some struggles so far this season. Great test. I cannot wait for that game on Monday Night Football. So the Patriots defense has been historically good through the first 8 games of the season. The 49ers defense was comparably as good going into last night, and it was sort of their first sign of vulnerability.
Look, it was 4 days later. Arizona always plays them tough.
But where I was going with that is that if the 49ers defense can be, the word's unexposed, but if they have nights where they are not Superman-like, perhaps it can happen to other defenses as well. And I know it sounds crazy because he's been, I believe, the number 1 quarterback in fantasy so far this season. But if this applies to Lamar Jackson and all Ravens, are we sitting any or all of the Baltimore Ravens this weekend when they play against the Patriots defense? Matthew, by the ranks in a 10-team league, I believe that's what you are suggesting, is Lamar Jackson makes your hate list this week.
He did. You think about you think about what Bill Belichick has done against athletic quarterbacks, right? So you think about Josh Allen twice, Deshaun Watson, Mitchell Trubisky, Blake Bortles. Like, since the beginning of last year, he's played 5 games against those quarterbacks, right? And all of them, in various ways, get fantasy points from the legs. No, none to the extent of Lamar Jackson, of course. But still, well, in those 5 games, they averaged just 42 rushing yards, 2 rushing scores total in those 5 games. It's not bad, but not Lamar Jackson levels, not what those guys had previously done. My expectation is that Bill Belichick basically says, like, you know what, Lamar, I'm going to take my chances with you as a passer. And so given how good that secondary is, and given that it's hard to count on Lamar Jackson, listen, Lamar Jackson's a special player. So if anyone can, like, sort of break the trend and duck and dart and video game his way. I mean, Lamar Jackson looks like a video game sometimes out there, right?
Does, yeah.
Like, he's a special player. So if anyone could do that, I think Lamar Jackson could. But yeah, in a week where there's some quarterbacks with some good matchups, I have him outside my top 10. I am nervous about him against Bill Belichick and those pass catchers against that secondary.
I've got him inside my top 10 this week. Are we close enough that, like, you think this is board bet material?
I mean, I have him at 11.
Okay,
like,
so
I'm outside my top 10.
I'm with you. By the way, but to further that point, I know, I get what you're saying. I still feel like if I have him, I would be starting him this week. But
depends on your options.
Just to further the quarterback note about rushing attempts, no quarterback has ever rushed for more than 100 yards against the Bill Belichick-led Patriots defense. Now, maybe that changes on Sunday because you can make the case they have never played a quarterback with Lamar's athletic skills, and let's be honest, few have ever played the position in the NFL, but something to keep in mind. A good prop bet that some might be wagering on come Sunday night. Yeah. Daniel, you have something you want to ask?
So you think that the Patriots defense is going to score more points than Lamar Jackson this week?
That's a great prop bet. No, I would still take, oh boy, that's a tough one.
That's a good one.
That's a tough one. Because I have to tell you something. Here's the other thing.
That was not Cool Keith. I just don't want to take credit for that. That was not Cool Keith that came up with that.
That makes sense, because not Cool Keith is smart.
I'll take Lamar in that one. Do you want the Patriots defense or no?
I'll take the Patriots defense. Yeah, what a YOLO. But
just so you know, the Patriots defense has outscored the quarterback they face in every game except week 1. Roethlisberger.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I say the Patriots defense outscores Lamar Jackson in fantasy this week.
I say Lamar Jackson outscores the Patriots defense in fantasy this week.
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
All right, so Lamar,
By the way, I've gotten some criticism on the Twitter there, which is weird because normally everyone that follows me on Twitter is super positive, but every once in a while a negative comment will seep through. And somebody has asked me, they said, what's the point of the board? Because should we have some, and we don't have to decide this now, but should we have some sort of stakes to the board? We've always sort of just done it for fun, for pride, like it means something, but should we do something?
Yeah, we all love steak here. If you guys want to put stakes on it, we're good with steaks.
Whoever wins
has to buy steaks
like
for
you
animals?
Basis or like at the end of the season?
I think at the end, I mean, you tell me. I don't know.
I mean, like, we haven't had something in the past. I think I've won it in 3 straight seasons, right?
I think you, it's pretty good. We can look it up.
I think I won one in there. I think I won one in there, but you've had a nice run here.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's think about it.
We could put some stuff on there. Yeah, Field, if you win at the end of the year, you can have Matthew shave your legs for you or something like that.
Oh, there you go. It's nice.
My FB is not working. Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
No, he suggested that if I win, I could shave your legs.
Oh, okay. That's good. I like that idea.
Okay. Or if you win, I could shave your legs. I don't know who's in the president for.
I guess it's like a win-win for both of you there.
You know what? It's a win for America.
If I win,
it's a win for Chapin. I'll tell you that much.
The one that wins.
All right.
What do you got, not Cool Keith?
The results are last 3 years. Last year, Field 12-10. 2017, Field 10-9. That was a defensive struggle.
Well, and then some
2016, Field kicked a field goal late, 23-20.
I feel like one of those years was the one where you got the cornhole, the controversial cornhole one where he got like a half hour to practice and warm up the cornehole, and I had to come there and just to do a cold.
Am I 3-0 in the last 3 years? Is that what we just established?
Yeah,
3-0.
Fair enough. Listen, I'm up to. We'll see. I'm up 6-1 so far this year.
Well, actually, here we go.
Yeah.
To follow up on the cornhole point, 2015.
Yeah.
Tied 22-22. Matthew wins cornhole tiebreaker. So you actually misremembered Roger Clemens.
Oh, okay.
But we'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll take the cornhole tiebreaker.
All right, we got to move along here. More on these Ravens, though.
So we won one of the last 4.
We talked about this yesterday with Marquise Brown. Mike brought it up in terms of the wide receiver cornerback matchup. But Stephania, just to update his health status and where he's at in terms of practice reports so far this week.
Yeah, been limited in practice this week. I certainly think he's got a shot to play. I mean, he's been out. This will be 4 weeks since he originally injured his foot. So I think after the bye week, we feel a lot better about him. I could see him coming in as questionable.
Okay.
And then being a game time decision.
As you know, with Marquise Brown, you've got a couple of factors here. One, he's not healthy right now. Two is that he has been up and down when he has played. Three, it's a really tough matchup. So we would not advise playing Marquise Brown pretty clearly from the rankings so far. If you do, understand the risk involved. And although Mark Ingram and Mark Andrews might have a tougher day than usual relative to their normal standards, we still have them as starters. So Mark Andrews still a top 5 tight end option. Mark Ingram still a top 20 running back option because incredible volume, especially for Ingram. Now, in the same division as the Patriots is the Buffalo Bills. And if you are playing a Bills running back this week, who is it? Because I can make the case for Frank Gore, whereas the numbers might make the case for Devin Singletary.
Make the case for Frank Gore.
That he still is getting a ton of run, and I think that they're going to be able to run the football effectively and perhaps move the football effectively against the Redskins, that they can sort of bleed out the clock. In games in which the Bills are competitive or trailing, I should say. Trailing or in a tight game, you might see more Devin Singletary because they need to run the football more. In games where they might have a comfortable lead, you might see more Frank Gore, which is why you can make the case to me for Frank Gore over Devin Singletary. You feel the inverse.
I do. I mean, first off, so Singletary, played 67% of the snaps last week. Frank Gore under 30%. This is in week 8. So again, and you just think about who's got a big playability, right? So I mean, all you really need is one, right, to pay off for your sort of your fantasy day here. And again, I'm the highest on Singletary among all of us. I'm at 23.
Okay.
So I mean, I have him as a high-end flex play. So none of us have him as a starter this week, but I have him as a high-end flex play. I'm higher among the three of us here. You guys both have him in the 30s. But my point is that you only need one big play, right? So Frank Gore has 95 carries so far this season. Devin Singletary has 20. Devin Singletary actually has one more carry, gaining more than 15 yards, 5-4 in terms of big plays. And yet,
more explosive.
Much more explosive here. To me, the Bills, who are a double-digit favorite, they're basically a 10-point favorite. Maybe it's moved down to 9.5. But I think they run the ball effectively with both guys. And so I think wanting to get Devin Singletary up to speed so far, I mean, again, he's got this big playability. He's played a lot more snaps last week in a game in which the Bills obviously were competitive last week as well. Give me Devin Singletary. I'll do a board bet there.
I was going to say, I'm going to hate myself for making this board bet, but just for fun. Why not? Why not? We need more board bets in our life. Everybody wants them.
I say Devin Singletary outscores Frank Gore in week number 9.
I say Frank Gore outscores Devin Singletary in week number 9.
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
By the way, I love my favorite summation of this game was actually something I thought of myself. The Redskins.
Hang on for 1 second. He would, just so we're clear, his favorite summation is the one that he thought of himself.
Yes, right. But it's
not that anyone else has thought of, but the one that Fields has thought of himself.
Correct. The Redskins, the team that says we have a damn good culture versus the Bills, the team that actually does have a damn good culture.
It's a good call. That's actually a good call. You know
now
what?
you understand.
Yeah. Also, that's $2 for the swear box field. Just so you know.
Oh, sorry.
Mama Dop.
Mama Dop in the
Mama Dop always watching.
Is she gonna wash my mouth with a bar of soap on a rope later?
No, it's not a bar if it's on the rope. It's soap on the rope.
I don't get it. I don't know how. Is it a bar or not?
It's a bar of soap that's tied with a rope.
First of all, it's circular, usually.
It's still a bar.
No. It's you.
Sometimes there is bar soap on a rope.
Keith, I know you understand this.
Sometimes there is bar soap on a rope.
There is sometimes.
Thank you, not cool, Keith.
Or has been.
Thank you.
Another board bet win for me, baby.
Oh my God. I'm just saying.
Okay, moving along.
I'm surrounded by.
Moving along. Fantasy Focus Football is brought to you by ADT. What does real protection mean for our listeners? You can get all of the latest innovation in smart home security from ADT, combined with 24/7 monitoring from the most trusted name in home security. You get a team of professionals designing and installing a secure smart home just for you and your family. You get 18,000, that's a lot, wow, employees safeguarding you with connection to first responders. You get the nation's #1 smart home security provider. You can get a secure smart home with everything from video doorbells, indoor and outdoor cameras, smart locks and lights, all that controlled from the ADT app or the sound of your voice. You can get professionally monitored carbon monoxide and smoke detectors. Plus, you get a system custom designed to fit your home, large or small. You can get safety on the go, whether you are in the car or when your kids are at school. With the ADT Go app with an SOS button, they protect us. You go out there and support ADT.
She's not a clone, she's your favorite gal. She's Stephania
Very quickly before we get to Stephania's injuries, I just want to do a quick update here on the poll. You want to give us a poll here? Want to give a quick poll result? Because you're getting crushed like a grape, Field Yates.
Sure, let's do it.
The rabbit poll.
Yep, let's do it. What's the quick update?
The quick update is 91% say no.
What do we have, like 9 votes?
We have 662 votes.
Okay. Well, people are. I mean,
91%
here's the thing: is that I'm not the only
it.
person that's heard of it. Stephania also has heard of it.
Yeah.
I'm just fantasy folks. So the tweet is: have you heard of the first thing you say on the first of every month being rabbit when you get up? And anyway, I'm _Mike_Y says this tweet is worded very poorly. So there you go, Thirsty Cal. Some feedback for you. So maybe that may have skewed poll results. Just FYI.
I've never heard of it, so it's hard. It's much like the Harry Potter and all those polls.
Now, let me ask you something.
Out of my comfort zone.
Is there a more definitive source in life than Wikipedia? Could anything be more reliable than Wikipedia?
Yes, everything is more reliable than Wikipedia.
Jackson has heard of it, and Jackson, quite honestly,
he's like 12 years old. Calm down.
What?
So
Jackson's like 12.
Yeah, exactly. Jackson probably read
This is really not that hard, by the way.
Jackson's mom probably put him to bed last night with Rabbit, some sort of book like that. Let's be honest.
Literally, I just Googled rabbit. There's like a huge NPR piece on it. It's all over Wikipedia, all Hollywood Life. There's all this stuff
all over Wikipedia.
I'm just okay, Matthew. What I'm saying is, does that mean your Wikipedia page isn't real?
My Wikipedia page has absolute mistakes, 100%. Among the things, it says I like you on my Wikipedia page.
But you have a page, therefore you exist.
I don't have a Wikipedia page. I don't think.
Oh,
I'm sure you do.
You don't. You don't.
I don't?
No, you don't.
Someone feels like someone will make one, and I'll send you a Yater shirt.
Be careful what you wish for.
Why not? I don't care. I'll go edit it after the fact. But if someone does, seriously, Yater shirt coming your way.
Rabbit.
Just make sure to do a whole paragraph on his crazy hairy legs.
I could use that. Werewolf legs. All right, Stephania, it's your injuries to watch. Rabbit is a real thing. We begin with Patrick Mahomes. We're off the rails today.
I know. Patrick Mahomes. Stop laughing. Patrick Mahomes practicing
my Mahomie.
He's your Mahomie. Well, he's probably not going to be your Mahomie this week.
Why?
That was to Matthew. That wasn't to you.
Oh, well, I didn't know.
You knew. It's always to me. All right, what do you got? Patrick Mahomes.
Limited in practice. Everybody very excited when he first came back to practice last week, and that was too soon. He wasn't going to play. He's still working with the second-team offense. Matt Moore's still working with the first-team offense. All the tea leaves would point to Patrick Mahomes not being quite ready to go against the Vikings this week.
And we should point this out, Field, very quickly. When the Mahomes injury happened, and there were some reports of optimism out there, and Stephania has been preaching caution for quite some time, and so this makes sense that another game missed for Patrick Mahomes.
Stephania being
that's
right.
the current expectation.
Yeah,
exactly.
The sun rose this morning.
Just want to point that out.
Stephania, though, so Patrick Mahomes, we don't think will play on Sunday, so there are, I guess, implications for the rest of the offense, Matthew.
Sure. Yes.
Sammy Watkins outside of
when Patrick Mahomes is not playing quarterback, that is
Allow
correct.
me to continue my thoughts here.
No, you are the best in the business for a reason.
Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but Sammy Watkins, can you feel comfortable starting Sammy Watkins on Sunday? Very good Vikings pass defense he's playing. He has been held under 65 receiving yards in 4 straight games. His 45 yards last week actually was 4th amongst the Chiefs. Feels like a no.
Yeah, I mean, if the question is, can you feel comfortable starting him? Yeah, I would say that's a no. I mean, I have him 37th, so I'm outside my top 35. I'm not crazy about him. Weeks 2 through 8, he's wide receiver 70 on a per game basis. We haven't seen that kind of Sammy Watkins game, and I like Matt Moore, but I don't I think Matt Moore is better than you think he is, but against the Vikings, it's hard to get excited about the potential for Sammy Watkins. Could he have one big play? Of course he could, but yeah.
The intrigue begins with the Chiefs running backs. Last week, LaShawn McCoy was the guy until he lost a fumble, and all of a sudden it became the Damian Williams show. So this is not fantasy sort of analytics or insight, Matthew. It's intuition more than anything else. Do you think that 7 days away from that fumble, the Chiefs just say, hey, LaShawn McCoy is our best, most explosive runner, the guy who's the most potent threat to an opposing defense. He is going to be the starter again on Sunday? Or in your mind, are you expecting the Chiefs to go back to a more even split between he and Damian Williams, and that Damian Williams, by dint of that, might be a reasonable flex consideration?
It's
just guessing.
No. I mean, yes and no. So do I think they go back to LaShawn McCoy? Like, if I had to start a Chiefs running back, if I had all of them available to me and I had to start a Chiefs running back, it would be LaShawn McCoy. I have him at 30. I have him at 31. I have Damian Williams at 35.
Okay.
So I have McCoy ranked ahead of Damian Williams. Do I think there's a significant difference between them? No, obviously. I've got them 4 spots apart. Here's the concern with LaShawn McCoy, who made the hate list this week, right? Vikings have given up one rushing touchdown. One rushing touchdown this entire year, 181 carries they faced.
Doesn't feel like
They've given
a
up
lot,
one
yeah.
rushing touchdown. McCoy doesn't have more than 12 carries in a game this season, and that includes the games where he hasn't fumbled, right, which is always a threat, right? We've seen it now where he's fumbled in 2 different games, and then we haven't seen him again for the rest of the game. So that is a concern here as well. You know, and so in a game in which we think the Vikings offense has sort of turned a corner, right? That Kirk Cousins and that we think Minnesota will put up points against Kansas City, at least I do. I have Cousins as a top 10 play this week. So my expectation is they're going to have to throw against Minnesota. If you think about how this defense has looked over the last 4 weeks, right? They're 9th against the run. They're 14th against the pass. So to an extent of where people have been able to move the ball against Minnesota, and it's all been a struggle, but it's been more effective to move it against through the air than on the ground. So yeah, I think LaShawn McCoy is the guy that gets more work here because Damian Williams also sometimes cedes work to Darrell Williams, who they prefer it more as a pass blocker. But it's all a mess, and in an ideal world, you're avoiding the Chiefs' backfield.
Devontae Adams, Stephania, has missed, I believe, 3 straight games now because of that toe issue. Might that change on Sunday in Los Angeles?
He's actually missed 4. He was injured back in week 4 with that turf toe injury. So he's been out for over a month, and I've talked about this before, how it was really clear that Devontae Adams has been making progress, but that he was very particular about being 100%, kind of referencing concerns about other players who have gone back too soon and aggravated the injury and made it significantly worse, and also knowing what his game is predicated on, getting off the line quickly, things where he has to dig his toe in, hadn't been running full speed. Well, this week he was running faster, and yesterday he appears in practice with helmet and pads for the first time since the injury. So, he's been essentially a DNP throughout the last month, and I think he came into last week's game as doubtful, but we knew he wasn't going to play.
Right.
I could foresee him coming in as questionable, with this literally coming down to how they feel on Sunday.
This game is being played in Los Angeles, so it does not kick off until 4:25 on Sunday, or maybe 4 o'clock. But the point is that our hope is we'll have better information on Sunday morning about his availability. Obviously, if Devontae Adams plays, you follow the formula and you play him as well. Adam Thielen.
Is there any Packers wide receiver you would start that isn't named Devontae Adams this week, Field?
If he plays or if he doesn't play?
Either way.
If he plays, no. If he doesn't play, probably still not.
Yeah.
It would be if I got crunched with other health concerns this week, or I sat someone like Larry Fitzgerald or Christian Kirk last night against San Francisco, and I instead, I guess that I would. I don't even know. I guess I go Marquez Valdez-Scantling for the chance of one big play.
Yeah, but that's the point. it is
right.
complete.
My answer is no, I'm not.
Yeah.
My answer is basically
I agree.
I'm not doing it.
I agree. The only pass catchers I'm starting from the Packers this week with any sort of confidence is Adams if he's healthy, the 2 running backs.
That's right.
And then I suppose Jimmy Graham if I'm truly desperate at tight end.
Tight ends. Hashtag tight ends. Adam Thielen, Stephania missed last week's game Thursday night. Of course, it was going to be a tough turnaround for him after that hamstring injury against the Lions the Sunday before that. Might he be a fast recoverer?
Yeah, well, he has suggested that he is a speedy recoverer. This was the first game he's missed in 5 years, and he really didn't want to miss it. But I think, wiser heads prevailed, and ultimately you don't want a very small hamstring injury to turn into a bigger one. He's been limited in practice both days, wearing a sleeve on the leg, et cetera. But I do think that there's a good chance we see Adam Thielen. We'll get more after practice today.
All right. Well, if he plays, obviously, again, this is formulaic here. If he plays on Sunday, you feel good about that. Matthew just talked about that matchup and how Kirk Cousins is a top 10 play for him. It would really be fun to see this Vikings offense back at full strength because I think at their best, they have the ability to be like one of the 3 best offenses in football, given the talent they have at both wide receiver and the way that Dalvin Cook has played so far this season. I think maybe the most interesting injury for the weekend, Stephania, is James Conner. What's the likelihood that we'll see him on Sunday for Pittsburgh?
It's certainly not appearing likely that we're going to see him. He hasn't practiced. They got good news back on his AC joint injury that happened just late in the game last week.
Okay.
Obviously not a major injury. He had his arm in a sling. That's normal. Even with a minor sprain of the AC joint after the game, just to sort of give it some support. But he has not practiced at all. Jalen Samuels is now healthy. He was actually healthy enough he maybe could have played last week, but they felt like the conditioning wasn't there. So another week of practice for Jalen Samuels. I think that he is likely to be the number 1 guy. Benny Snell not practicing at all this week as well.
Yeah.
I would say, I always want to watch till Friday. Remember, James Conner had the knee injury that we thought he was not going to be back that week, and then he ended up playing.
Right.
So I say they're going to give him down to the wire, but it feels like this is going to be Jalen Samuels.
So it sounds like it'll be Jalen Samuels. And what I think we're hoping for, I don't mean this because I don't want James Conner to play, but I think we want clarity, right? Like it will be more, from a fantasy perspective, it would be a more efficient decision if James Conner sit and you just say, hey, I'm playing Jalen Samuels, right? And doing so with
and then
good confidence.
they'll back him up with Trey Edmonds.
Right. What you're weary of is, hey, James Conner plays, he's active, but it's David Johnson 2.0.
By the way,
David Johnson, Chase Edmonds,
the location of the injury, like it's the point of the shoulder. So everybody's going to be trying to hit it. Everybody's going to try to make contact. There's no way to avoid contact, and James Conner's a physical runner. Just watching him play, this is why he's had a few different injuries already this year. So I think that's all partly goes into the evaluation of whether he's going to be available or not.
So if James Conner is out and Jalen Samuels starts in this one, I think you like him. You think about weeks 15 and 16 last year where he was the 12th best running back in fantasy. Like when he has gotten run, he has been very successful. And, I don't think you mind the matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, who struggle against pass-catching running backs. And so given the volume of work that you would get from Samuels if Conner is out, I think Samuels would easily be, a top 12 play for me. I currently have James Conner at 12. I've ranked him as if he's going to play. But hearing what Stephania is saying, and we'll see how he practices today, my expectation is the rankings will update, and I'll have Conner out and Samuels up there inside my top 12.
Yeah, it certainly seems like the Steelers are one of those teams that give you a pretty good. Mike Tomlin is about as transparent as any coach in the NFL on injuries.
We appreciate him.
We do. Last one on this one, Stephania, is T.Y. Hilton. That same game, the Pittsburgh Steelers play the Colts. I believe the game is in Pittsburgh. T.Y. Hilton has been banged up, Stephania. This one has caught my attention over the past couple of days.
Well, yes, it does, because T.Y. Hilton doesn't miss practice very often. He tweaked his calf in practice on Wednesday, was limited there, and then did not practice on Thursday. I will say this about the Colts, sort of a pattern to how they do things. Now, T.Y. Hilton is a guy that they will give the most latitude to because he has been able to. He's a gamer, and he's also shown himself to be really good at going through rehab and recovering more quickly from soft tissue injuries than they typically would expect. So, all that being said, he will potentially have until Sunday, but what he does in practice today will tell you a lot. If he doesn't practice at all today, that's a big red flag. If he gets even limited work in, that's a pretty good indicator that he's going to try and go. So Friday, really important for him.
Another one here that, by the way, that if there is some ambiguity, Sunday morning, 11:30, inactives will be out. That'll help you make your decision. Be attentive and watch Fantasy Football Now on ESPN2. Matthew, your love-hate is out.
You're a company man.
Yes, I am. Matthew's love-hate is out. It's always a must-read on Thursday afternoons. Matthew, 3 loves, 3 hates. Let's begin. Let's actually do the loves first. Let's get right down to it. Who are your 3 loves of the week that you feel confident will outscore their projections?
I'll say Phillip Lindsay of the Denver Broncos here. Like, what are they going to do? Let Brandon Allen throw it? Of course not. Look, we just don't know what you're going to get out of Brandon Allen. We don't. Here's what we do know, right? Phillip Lindsay has at least 17 touches in 3 of the last 4 games. Season-high 5 catches last week. And the Browns. Like, the Browns are one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. Not cool, Keith knows. And in fact, over the last 4 weeks, only one team has been worse than Cleveland. They allow 4.8 yards per carry, 7th most. 3.2 yards per carry before first contact, that's 5th most. Give me some Phillip Lindsay, and candidly, also Royce Freeman. I think both guys are good plays, again, as I expect Denver to go run heavy with Brandon Allen under center. Allen Robinson, A-Rob, makes the love list for me this week as well. I think he's, a borderline top 10 play for me as well. At least 5 catches in 5 straight games, at least 60 receiving yards in all 5 of those games here. And he is a perimeter wide receiver. And what do you do against Philadelphia? You start your perimeter wide receivers. I mean, it's the one piece of the Bears' passing offense that's working is Allen Robinson. And so in a great matchup against Philadelphia that has given up the most perimeter yards per game, is tied for the most perimeter touchdowns scored per game. Yeah, you're starting Allen Robinson. You're starting him with confidence. And then finally, Sam Darnold. I know. It has been a brutal return since he has come back, and he's been seeing ghosts. And
but Halloween's done. The ghosts have retired for a year.
The ghosts are gone. So, did somebody come as the ghosts? Was that a costume?
You yesterday, you were the ghost that Sam Darnold saw because you weren't in the picture, so that's what you came at.
Got it. That was pretty good. Somebody, that crossed my feed on social media, and I'm like, I didn't totally understand what that was, but it's very funny. That's actually very clever.
Thanks. Thanks, Matthew. That was me. That was all me.
Anyway, so yes, I am the ghost that Sam Darnold saw.
That was the funny one.
Yes, well done.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks.
You're the best. You're awesome.
Thanks, man.
You're really good.
Thanks, dude.
You deserve you deserve a raise or something like
I
that.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let's not get crazy.
All right.
We're good with, yeah.
We do still have Jackson. Here's the point. Sam Darnold. Back to Sam Darnold. Let me reset for video. All right. Sam Darnold also makes the let me totally reset for video now. Sorry, guys. By the way, that right there is what happens like 20 times a day during the fantasy show on ESPN Plus.
20.
Secret Squirrel, and I'm brutal.
Totally accurate.
You have no idea.
It's fun,
how many
though.
takes it
It's
takes
a good
me.
time.
We have a lot of fun on the fantasy show. All we do is laugh. Anyway, Sam Darnold makes the love list this week as well. Field Yates. He's got Miami. Like, you had me at Miami. I get it. It has been a really tough stretch here for Sam Darnold since he returned, the ghost, the whole thing. But Dolphins on the second most yards per pass attempt, the second most touchdown passes per game. They're averaging the third fewest sacks per game. Xavier Howard now on IR. Like, pick a stat, and I can give you a bad Miami Dolphins stat. Revenge game for Adam Gase. I believe Sam Darnold. Huh?
And Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's a weekly occurrence.
Yeah, fair. But anyway, Sam Darnold for me is a guy that I think has a top 15 week in him. And you look at his upcoming stretch from this week on, at least through week 14, it's a great stretch for Sam Darnold. I think he's got a potential to get to 20 points today.
The NFL will remain bullish on Sam Darnold regardless of how the rest of the season plays out. But the next 6 weeks, I think, are going to be very telling for Adam Gase as a coach. I think people will either change their opinion of him or their opinion will be reinforced based off how they play over the next 6 weeks with a very good schedule.
I think that's fair. Very quickly, I'll just say that I don't know that that's fair. I'm not the biggest Adam Gase fan myself, but again, like, I think the point is, like, everyone loves Kyle Shanahan these days. Everyone loves John Lynch, and they were killing him the first 2 years.
But this is the NFL. Things aren't fair like that, you know?
I know, but like, you've got to give a coach and a regime time to sort of build something. That's what they did in San Francisco, and they're reaping the benefits this year. And
don't tell the Cardinals that 1 year of.
I know, like,
poor Steve Wilkes.
Completely. And sometimes it goes on too long. #fire Bruce Allen. But at some point you have to give at least a little bit of leeway here to Adam Gase.
All right. So all year long we've been saying play everyone against the Jets and play everyone against the Dolphins. We've also been saying sit your Jets and sit your Dolphins for the most part, absent a couple of exceptions. Now they play each other. You just talked about Sam Darnold, Matthew. Other players that you feel like, not Le'Veon Bell. Of course you're playing Le'Veon Bell, or you should be playing him in most weeks. We know that he has been inefficient, but his volume is great. Other players on the periphery of this game that should be started include who? Who do you love this week in this matchup?
Robby Anderson and Jamison Crowder. Again,
Nice.
it stands to reason that if I think Sam Darnold has a big game, I think his pass catchers do as well. And so, look, the top pass catcher on 5 of Miami's 7 opponents so far this year have caught at least 5 passes, right? When they've played the Dolphins. Anderson, when he catches 5 passes, averages over 20 fantasy points per game. And then you think about Jamison Crowder, who is Sam Darnold's favorite target so far this year, right? And the slot role against Miami has absolutely crushed so far this year. They're giving up over 11%. They have a touchdown percentage of over 11%, which is tied for the most in the NFL with Cleveland. There, Keith. There you go. Congratulations there. So, Crowder, who should get a heavy target share in a great match against the Miami Dolphins as well, again, who really struggle against the slot. Yeah, give me Crowder and Anderson both as top 30 plays this week.
I'll mention a couple of Dolphin just because there are some players that might crack the radar here for fantasy this week. Mark Walton is a top 25 play for each one of us. I got some people that retorted after I had him on the waiver wire call. I'm like, yeah, man, like nice number 1 waiver wire ad amongst running backs. He had 14 touches for like 50 total yards last week. I'm like, you know something? Fine. Go ahead. Add a backup fullback instead because that's who else is available right now on the waiver wire.
He's
brutal.
a
starting running back, and he's actually shown pretty well in the opportunities that he has gotten. I know it hasn't been super efficient, but it's the freaking Dolphins right now. Yes, volume could be a good thing. We do like him as a top 25 play this week. Devontae Parker, quietly, has been pretty solid in terms of heavily targeted over the past 4 games. I think there's some deeper league flex value in Devontae Parker. I mean, he's starting for us in the War Room League this week because, well, a lot of bye weeks and injuries. But still, the guy has been targeted a ton of late.
A lot of people have been hanging on to Chris Herndon all season long. I know he's been on your waiver wire column. You guys starting Chris Herndon?
Well,
Stephanie's going to play?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. That's $1 million question. It's when are we going to get the debut of Chris Herndon? Out 4 games with suspension, comes back, hurts his hamstring like second day in practice, and he's missed 3 games since. Now, last week he was doubtful after limited practice, and then they ruled him out on Saturday. This week, limited practice again. I think the feeling is that, maybe it's going to be 1 more week. But here's why I look at they traveled to Miami. Next week, they're home to the New York Giants. Sort of feels like that might be the time. But let's see what comes in today with practice. And he feels like he's getting closer. But yeah, once he's back, you're starting him.
Little fun here. Just for fun. Let's pick this game on this podcast.
If you need a tight end to fill it, because Chris Herndon has potential to score on that team.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He's a very talented guy. So whenever he comes back, he will be intriguing. And I would say even 10-team leagues.
By the way, Thirsty Kyle puts up on the screen that Fantasy Life, my Fantasy Life app, which is free and crushes on the alerts.
Nice.
Gets you out of the alerts. Says that Brian Costello, his Twitter feed via an alert through the Fantasy Life app, says Herndon looking doubtful. Is that right, Thirsty Kyle?
That's what the app says, yeah.
There you
trust
go.
it.
The app says it. It must be true, just like Wikipedia.
But there you go. FantasyLifeApp.com. Download it for free. Make yourself a better fantasy player.
1-6 Jets. 0-7 Dolphins. Game being played in Miami. Just for fun, let's pick this game, can we?
Sure.
How about this? There are moments in life where you want to seize greatness. You see the opportunity. It is apparent. It's in front of you. You have two choices. Do you take it or do you wilt? The Dolphins, they take the opportunity and they get their first win of the season. No more tanking for Tua. Welcome to Miami, Joe Burrow. I got the Dolphins winning. How about you?
Give me the Jets. Jets. Jets.
I liked what I saw of the Dolphins defense last week. Like, they played Pittsburgh tough. You know what? I'm going to go with Field. I'm going to take the Dolphins at home in Miami.
All right.
Yeah, that's right.
Nope. I'm taking the Jets.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
There you
It was
go.
a really rousing speech, Field, though. It really got me excited.
Nope.
Nope.
Like you
Dolphins are not going to get it done.
So,
sorry, it's fun. You're wrong.
This is
What is it? You guys took it says here, Thirsty Kyle throws this up on the screen. We took the over on 11 seconds for Matthew to make the pick. It took him less than a second.
Yes, we had a bet going back here on how long you would hem and haw before you finally made a decision. And then Fields took way too long.
Do you want to go back and change the answer?
Screw you guys. You know what? Like, read between the lines, all you guys
there's a
back
side
there.
camera that catches
There
all
you
that
go.
stuff. Yeah.
There you go.
Can we do a board bet on a game or no?
Yeah, we can do a board bet on a game.
You want to or no?
Field is desperately trying to make up ground.
No, I'm just trying to have
brought
fun.
it back up.
You said
That's
YOLO,
fine.
right?
That's fine. I will do this. I will take the Jets. I say the Jets win the. I say the Jets beat the Dolphins in Week 9.
I say the Dolphins beat the Jets in Week 9. Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
I am so going 0-2. All right, Matthew, you smell nice today. It must be that deodorant you're wearing. Tell us more about Old Spice.
Field, this branded commercial segment has been brought to you by the official sweat protection of the NFL, Old Spice Sweat Defense. Reminding you that rookie Montez Sweat has brought sweat into the NFL, which isn't cool, but the sweat-fighting power of Sweat Defense Spray definitely is. He just snuck right in under Old Spice's nose, though through the draft on TV. Not cool. So this season, don't forget that Sweaty Montez Sweat, too sweaty for the NFL, even if he tells you it's just his name or whatever.
Hail to the Redskins. Hail perspiration control. All right, Matthew, time now to get to the hate side of your love-hate. And again, these are three players you do not hate personally. Players that you believe, in terms of their projections, they will not meet those projections laid out by our friend Mike Clay. Begins with a certain Colts quarterback.
Yeah, and Jacoby Brissett makes the hate list so far. Look, one of the things is I think the Steelers have a really good defense. As much as their offensive struggles, they have a really good defense. All right, so the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're 11th against the pass over the last 4 weeks. They're the 6th best red zone defense this entire year. And I think that's really key here, right? How good they are in the red zone, because Brissett needs the red zone for his fantasy production.
Yes.
He ranks 3rd among all quarterbacks in terms of most fantasy points in the red zone. Only Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson have more than Jacoby Brissett. However, among points not in the red zone, he ranks just 25th among quarterbacks. Like, the majority of his fantasy success so far this year has become about points in the red zone. When they get in close, he's been throwing for touchdowns. And now you tell me from Stephania that T.Y. Hilton either isn't playing in this game or will be less than 100% if he does go. Games in Pittsburgh. I have Jacoby Brissett outside my top 12 for the week.
I was going to say, you might have some company if Hilton sits. All right, Sony Michelle also on the hate list.
Yeah, just outside my top 25 here. Nick Chubb, they're not cool, Keith, is the only running back to have over 65 rushing yards in a game against the Ravens so far this season. Only 2 running backs have gotten more than 14 carries against Baltimore. Like, it's been a very good run defense so far this year, just 1.1 yards per carry after first contact. That is the lowest amount in the league. And so Sony Michel, who's not really involved in the passing game, who's been vultured before, and what I expect to be a little bit of a low-scoring game here in Baltimore. Yeah, Sony Michel, I think, is merely a flex play. I think this is much more of a James White game.
And this must pain you desperately, Matthew. But Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, and it's not Terry McLaurin's fault, right? I mean, I love Terry McLaurin. He was somebody that I thought about. I have his jersey. I bought his jersey. I thought about wearing it today. However, my concern here is a couple of things. First off, it's a tough matchup with Buffalo, right?
Very
Bills
tough.
have allowed two touchdowns to wide receivers this entire year.
Okay.
Like we're into week 9. They've given up just 2 passing touchdowns to wide receivers so far this year. 4 fewer catches in 4 straight games for McLaurin. And, you think he's going to see a decent amount of Tre'Davious White in this one. It's not a good matchup. And by the way, the last 2 days for the Redskins, Dwayne Haskins has taken the majority of first-team reps. Not Case Keenum, not Colt McCoy. And look, I'm a Haskins fan. I was excited when they drafted him. But from what little we've seen so far, Dwayne Haskins does not look ready for prime time just yet.
I was going to say, you're a Haskins fan. You're also a believer in patience.
I am a believer in patience, and I'm a believer that,
that's
the road at Buffalo is not the best place to make making your starting debut in the NFL. And certainly, if Haskins starts, I know he was college teammates with McLaurin, so there is a connection there. That would be helpful, but it would make me nervous. I have McLaurin, again, just outside my top 25. I'm his wide receiver 27 for the season.
It's because Case Keenum is still dealing with the after effects of a concussion. So Case Keenum limited at practice. We'll see what happens with him.
Bill Callahan has said...
It does seem like Haskins would start at not Colt McCoy, right?
That seems to be the way things are trending. And if Case Keenum does clear, he is going to start. That's what Bill Callahan has said. So we'll find out probably on Saturday afternoon. So after doing nothing all year long, David Montgomery finally had a breakout game in Week 8. Now we have him ranked inside the top 20 against the Eagles, who are a fairly stout run defense. I think Daniel is sort of speaking for the fans here and saying, are you guys sure you haven't bitten off more than you can chew? Like, are you sure you want to trust this David Montgomery? And my retort would be, the volume has been great all year. Not great all year, but it has been solid for stretches of the year. And it's just been the efficiency that has been bad so far this season. But when you go to rankings, Matthew, because the Bears continue to say that they want to run the football a ton, that's where my faith is. Like, it's the one thing they did well last week was run the football. They just stick with that. It's everything else I got to worry about, specifically the kicking and the quarterback.
And the piece here that's, I think, a little bit of a concern here is that I think people is first off, Tariq Cohen's being used entirely as a pass catcher. Mike Davis is nowhere to be found. So when they run the ball, it's going to be with David Montgomery. And I think people don't realize, I think people still think that Philadelphia has a good run defense. They're 20th against the run over the last 4 weeks. They've had a lot of injuries against that along that defensive line there, Field. You can run on the Eagles now.
They've been doing a sort of a merry-go-round of defensive tackles not named Fletcher Cox of late.
Yeah, so that's my expectation here is on the road at Philadelphia that they want to try to establish the run. All jokes aside, I think it's another heavy workload in a matchup that doesn't scare you. So it's been a confusing, confounding year for those people that have rostered David Montgomery, and I have him at 20. So I'm sorry, I have him at 19. You have him at 20. Stephon, you have him at 19. So we're all right there. We think he's a low-end RB2, but I think that's based on the volume, the matchup, and the fact that a lot of good running backs are on a bye this week.
Yeah, let me just pull back the onion one more layer, and it's not even specific to who they're playing this week or how he has been performing, but when you're doing your rankings every single week and you're looking at players that have been more effective recently, like, for example, Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams has been a better running back probably over the season, but specifically over the last few weeks compared to David Montgomery.
Sure.
Okay? David Montgomery is still far more likely to touch the football somewhere between 20 and 25 times
100%.
than Jamal Williams, who's at 8 to 12. So if you would rather start Jamal Williams than David Montgomery, I get it, because Jamal Williams has been better, but from a rankings process standpoint, it's who, based off of their volume, has the most likely chance to get into the end zone and have a couple of big plays. And
also, right after a coach has said they want to run the ball more, they do it, and he's effective, and it ends up being productive for said running back who you're ranking.
There are no questions. There just aren't that many running backs that have a chance at 20 touches in a game per week. It feels like David Montgomery is one of them. We're going to come back in just a minute and talk about quarterbacks that have a pretty favorable slate on Sunday. But first, we have a word from the Fantasy Show.
I have Two quick fantasy horror stories. In 2018, my league drafted the Friday before the NFL season started, and I drafted Le'Veon Bell. And number two, I had Leonard Fournette for a chance to get into the Final Four, and he got suspended by the team.
You ever had to stay up for 28 straight hours? 28 hours later, you are going to see me in the darkest version of myself. We're part of a fantasy football marathon. We're terrible and we're losing our mind. Yeah, that's your fantasy horror story. 28 hours with Matthew Berry. That's fantasy horror. You guys at home, you think you know you.
Fantasy, you're in the 06010. Focus. Fantasy focus.
We are back, and we are officially pandering to the great Daniel Dopp, who is wearing a Kerryon Johnson jersey today, but it's his quarterback, Matthew Stafford, that we want to talk about, because Matthew Stafford, and I know that our friend Dan Orlovsky has been conducting this train, has been one of the best quarterbacks in football when you just evaluate total play. I don't know where he ranks for the season in terms of fantasy points per game, but he has been awesome this year. It's just a quote-unquote real football quarterback. He now gets the Raiders, who we know their secondary has been a major issue. We know their pass rush has been a major issue of late. Is Matthew Stafford one of the must-start quarterbacks of the week if you have him on your roster?
I think so. Look, I will say this. There's one part that gives me a little bit of pause.
Okay, which is what?
Which is what? They're going to Oakland. He's going to the black hole, and I just feel like I don't really have a ton of stats to back this up.
It's a gut call. That's fine.
But it's just this one's a gut call, which is just sometimes teams go to the black hole and they the Raiders
fall into it.
They fall into it.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is a better Raiders team than we've seen in a while. And yes, their secondary has absolutely struggled, and it was a bad secondary, and then they trade Conley away. But I don't, so that makes me a little bit nervous. And Stafford has traditionally not been nearly as good on the road as he has been at home. Having said all that, this is a guy who leads the NFL in air yards per attempt and deep yards per game. He's got third most, deep attempts per game, third most. In Oakland is allowing allowing a league high 15.3% deep pass touchdown percentage. They're fifth highest in terms of deep completion percentage. Like, you can throw deep on the Oakland Raiders. There's a lot of stats that suggest you can throw deep on the Oakland Raiders, and Stafford is chucking it deep right here. It's a sneaky high over-under with over 50. It's one of the highest on the slate in week number 9. So there seems to be a lot of things that sort of line up that tell you Matthew Stafford should have a very good game. And I get that, and I'm buying that. I will say there's just a little piece that makes me nervous. That's why I thought about putting him on the love list, and then I was like, I don't know. I just had a weird twingy gut thing on that.
The first home game for the Raiders in 7 weeks. They have been on the road, and one of their home games technically was played in London, but a game being played in Oakland, it feels like forever ago, because it basically has been forever ago. But I still like Matthew Stafford. Like, for example, if you had Kyler Murray and you wanted to bench him last night, which didn't work out, but process-wise would have been a reasonable 100%. Call to make, right? And
by the way, without the Andy Isabella play, like Kyler Murray's, sure, he had struggled for quite some time in that game. It
was a reasonable call to make. There are other quarterbacks that you might feel nervous about this week. Again, I still feel like I'd have Lamar Jackson as a top 10 play, but if you're really nervous about this Patriots defense, which we understand, you might play Matthew Stafford. If you've got somebody on a bye this week, like the Saints quarterbacks or anybody. Anyways, Matthew Stafford, a player that I think should be started all over the place in fantasy. But
listen, I'm the lowest on him among the three of us. I'm at 5.
Yeah, so we think of big days in store for Matthew Stafford. He has been red hot for the past 2 weeks, in which he has been QB2 over those 2 weeks. But the running backs, you don't feel great about here. Now, one note, they did streamline the position a little bit when they released Paul Perkins. They eventually re-signed him to the practice squad, but now it's a 3-headed attack. Trey Carson, J.D. McKissick, and also Ty Johnson. But last week the game begins. It's Trey Carson. J.D. McKissick gets just 1 carry. It feels like this week, if you're starting a Lions running back, it's one of 2 things. You're desperate, or you know something that we presently do not know.
Because, by the way, in addition to the fact that it's a 3-headed monster, like, the Raiders have been good against the run. They're 6th against the run over the last 4 weeks.
Interesting, yeah.
They've played good defense. And so, they've, credit John Gruden and his staff. Like, the Raiders, I think, are playing above expectations so far this year.
No question.
They've been very competitive. So in a lot of games,
makes me like Matthew Stafford throwing the ball even more.
Right, they're going to have a hard time running the football. They should be able to throw the football. Part of the reason why we have Kenny Golladay way inside of our top 10, and Marvin Jones is a top 20 play as well. Time now for what many continue to call the most electric piece of content that not just this podcast produces,
but ESPN
produces.
Yeah,
it's probably why we have a record downloading month of October.
It might be.
I think it was
the debut of Field and Stream.
I think I just hit the nail on the head.
Did you just come up with a new segment? Oh, you guys just nailed that high five.
I know.
He's Field Yates.
Field and Stream for Week 9, go.
All right, and you don't think I'm going to pick Gardner Minshew to begin? Shout out to you, Minshew Mania. I'm sorry that I shaved my mustache, but Gardner Minshew has been awesome throughout this season. He's still available at about 40% of leagues. He's quarterback 11 on the season with 139.1 points. And if you look at all the quarterbacks that have at least 3 games of 21-plus points since Week 5, that would be pretty good. What, 21 points? That's an excellent day for a quarterback. There are 3 of them since Week 5. There are 2 of them since Week 5 with 3 such games. Gardner Minshew and Deshaun Watson. They play in the same field on Sunday, and this Texans defense, it can be summed up in one way. They traded for Gareon Conley last week, a player who was really struggling for Oakland, who has its own issues in the secondary. J.J. Watt is out for the season. We like Gardner Minshew to have his way on Sunday. Same game, different team, different position. Darren Fells, who somebody, and I apologize who it was, tweeted, is having the rare 33-year-old breakout season. Darren Fells, though, has been a touchdown maker for Houston. He's tight end 3 over the past 4 weeks with 57.4 fantasy points. He's available in 2/3 of leagues, and I get it. There's some touchdown luck involved here, but he has a very big body. The Texans are likely to be, or they are without Will Fuller this weekend because he didn't even travel to Houston. That's one more weapon that is out. And Deshaun Watson's magical against a Jacksonville defense that is still very good, but not quite what it has been in the past. And earlier on, we talked about the Colts and Steelers in the game from an offensive standpoint. But I think this Colts defense is a reasonable streaming option as well. They're available in about 60% of leagues, and they're one of 5 defenses that has entered Week 9 with 3 straight games of 8 or more fantasy points. They rank 10th in sack percentage this week. We know it's going to be Mason Rudolph. We think James Conner might not play in this game on Sunday. The Colts defense is tough. They always play close games. Literally every game they've played so far this season has been decided by 7 points or fewer. So the Colts defense should have an opportunity to cash in on Sunday. 3 options for you to stream if your starter is out or you are nervous about the potential matchup. Time now for Stephania. Tell us about SeatGeek.
Do you ever feel like ticketing websites make getting to the event difficult on purpose?
Oh my gosh, all the time.
Of course. It's as if they're so big they can get away with not caring about the customer experience. With millions of live event tickets and a price match guarantee, SeatGeek proves there's a better way. Search sports, live music, comedy, and more. SeatGeek has the tickets you're looking for all in one place. Why is SeatGeek better than the rest? SeatGeek pulls together millions of tickets from all over the web. Then it rates each deal on a scale of 1 to 10. Finally, SeatGeek displays them on an interactive seat map. SeatGeek breaks down the details. Green dots mean good deals, red dots are overpriced. And every purchase is fully guaranteed, so you can shop for tickets with confidence. SeatGeek will even give you $10 off your first SeatGeek purchase. All you need to do is use our promo code. Download the SeatGeek app today and use promo code FFF for $10 off on your first purchase. That's promo code FFF for $10 off on your first purchase.
Maybe you can go to the 49ers game next Monday night with Stephania Bell. And if you see her there, you can ask her about all the latest injury information. If you don't see her there, you just listen to this podcast like so many of you did this past record-setting month. You can get information like that we are about to have right now, Stephania. 4 players with some quick-hitting information.
Yeah.
What's the latest?
Quick hitters. Boondogly.
Yeah, notice none of your segments are called quick hitting.
None. That's because that would be off-brand for me. Off-brand. People enjoy me talking.
Yes. Well,
that's debatable. There are basically 2 schools of thought. You know
you
one, right?
can hit the fast-forward button on the pod. Anyway, 4 quick hits for this week include Delaney Walker, who sat out last week. Here's a guy who was a gamer, probably came as a surprise
And this is important for people that have Jonnu Smith.
That's right. And last week when he was not practicing, Delaney Walker gave Jonnu Smith the blessing. He basically said, "This guy's awesome. I'm totally confident that he can handle it." That was also Delaney Walker's way of letting us know that he was probably going to be out.
Yep.
He hasn't practiced yet this week, so I'm looking at potentially another Jonnu Smith start in place of Delaney Walker.
Matthew nailed that one.
And that's a guy that would have been a field. Yes, Jonnu Smith was my bold call last week on Fantasy Football.
Yeah.
My long shot ended up working out. Obviously, had a big game here, but he would be somebody else for Field and Stream.
Yes, he would. The reason why he was mentioned, we just fit him elsewhere. So
fair enough.
Yeah, see how that goes. They kind of gave him.
I don't listen during the pre-show meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 2, Miles Sanders hurt his shoulder last week, and at first they thought it might be something serious. Turned out not to be something serious. Was back in full practice already by yesterday. Miles Sanders on track to play this week, guys.
Okay.
D.D. Westbrook, remember him?
I do,
the Jags?
yes.
Yeah, neck and shoulder, and then played last week, coming in questionable because of that, but left the game early after aggravating. Now this week, this is always concerning when a player goes in and ends up flaring up an injury and is forced to leave the game and not able to return. But he traveled with the team to London. They have a 9:30 kickoff. My understanding is that he is going to try to play through this. He has been limited in practice over in London. We should get an early heads up just because of the time difference over there. But I do expect D.D. Westbrook to try and give it a go. And then Sterling Shepard. Remember, we haven't seen him in a while because of the concussion issues. Back in a non-contact jersey originally, but he is now closer to returning out of that full practice yesterday and just awaiting the final clearance. So he's still in the concussion protocol, but it sounds like that final clearance could be coming very soon.
Okay, that's good news. Obviously, they have until Sunday to submit their Saturday to submit their injury report for a Monday night game. They play the Dallas Cowboys. Should be a fun game. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Danny Dimes gets his first taste of DeMarcus Lawrence in that vaunted Dallas defensive pass rush.
Yeah, it feels like that's more of a fun game for us than it is for him.
Okay, probably true.
Yeah.
Last one here.
Yes.
Brandon Allen, who is starting for the Broncos at quarterback on Sunday, makes his NFL debut, and the Broncos have been a hot mess offensively and sort of defensively at times as well this season. They play the Browns, who they've been a hot mess in a lot of ways this year. Courtland Sutton, Matthew. He's a really talented player. He's got at least 6 targets in every game this season. Should he still be started this week, though, with Brandon Allen and the uncertainty that comes along with a guy who, as I mentioned, he's never thrown a pass before?
Wow.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's volume and opportunity should be there for Courtland Sutton, but this is going to be a tough matchup, to your point. The Browns bring pressure at the second highest rate in the NFL. Only the Patriots bring it more. And so, look, quarterbacks struggle when under pressure. And the Broncos line has played poorly this year, to be kind. And, they've had some injuries as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I have Courtland Sutton at wide receiver 24. Just about where you guys have him as well. You guys slightly higher, but we all have him just outside the top 20. So he's a wide receiver 3, or he's a flex play with upside. He's a big
that's
play.
That's the question I think people have. Is there upside?
Yes.
Okay.
100% there's upside because he's big enough and fast enough that could you see an Andy Isabella type play from that we saw last night? Could you see that from Courtland Sutton? Of course you could. They'll take some deep shots to him. He's talented enough. He can beat one-on-one coverage. Just can Brandon Allen get him the ball? Can Brandon Allen stay upright long enough to get him the ball? And ultimately, there's risk there, which is why I have him outside my top 20. I would have him much higher than that if Flacco, believe it or not, were under center. But with Brandon Allen, yes, I think he is a risk-reward wide receiver 3 this week.
I'm curious. I mean, I here's the thing. This might be, and this is not super bold. Could the offense be better with him?
With Brandon Allen?
Yeah, what we're grading it against is not the standard is that.
No, yeah, I mean, we don't know. Right? We don't know.
Isn't it weird how the Broncos traded for Joe Flacco and got widely panned for it? People were like, dude, you just traded the pick for Joe Flacco to be your starter, and it turned out it didn't work.
Weird to see how that all happened. They have not had good quarterback luck since 18 retired in Denver. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We literally have no idea what Brandon Allen could be awesome. Yeah. I mean,
he could be. It feels unlikely, right?
Feels unlikely. But think about this. Think about what we were saying when Nick Foles went down. We're like, there goes all our D.D. Westbrook and DJ Shark shares, Gardner Minshew. Okay. People were saying that before Minshew Mania took over, before people got to look at him. That's right.
You're getting the death stare.
I'm not. It's blue steel. That's what I'm getting from Field Yates there. Right, but people were saying that. This is weird and creepy. Right, Stephania? Secret Squirrel?
People were looking at me funny.
Someone
you
here.
only turn to me when you need something you're not getting from Field, whether it's fashion advice or you're not getting support on your call.
Factually correct.
Only time you come to
You're
me.
my handcuff.
No, I will not
Fine,
have
Daniel.
it.
Fine, Daniel. In a desperate time, I will turn to you. My lonely heart turns to you. What? Right? People. Real talk. Before Gardner Minshew started, people were like, "Really? Like,
no, of
what?"
course.
It was a 6-round pick.
Yes,
I know you
there
were.
were a lot of concerns about Gardner Minshew. Now the difference is that Gardner Minshew, like the second he stepped in, he started to play well, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we may have been saying that for 2 snaps, but then all of a sudden he played really well against the Chiefs, and it was like, wait, maybe not so much. Like maybe we will be okay with Gardner Minshew under center for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So yesterday we had a ton of fun with the costumes, and we were bummed to not see you there, Matthew, but you had a great time on NFL Live and, of course, the fantasy show as well. And although many chimed in and thought that, voted for whose costume they liked the most, we can all agree that the actual best costume comes from @FinchNissen on Twitter. And if you're watching right now on the live stream, here's a look at what it was.
There you go.
Well
It's amazing.
done.
It's amazing.
Live stream is not going to be able to see it, unfortunately. We can't have it up on the thing. So follow @FantasyFocus if you want to be able to see it.
Yeah, they
Fantasy
retweeted
Focus has the picture. It is a bunch of people dressed up as traffic cones.
Oh, you know who they're dressed up
no.
as?
No, they're all dressed up as Stephania.
Sorry, I thought that was the implication. My bad. I thought it would be a little bit more difficult to just say they dress up like Stephania Bell and have people understand it. So
fair.
The question is, do we think they were doing that and paying homage to you, or they were just being cones, and one of them in that group happens to be also a fan of this podcast?
Yeah, I think it was more the latter.
Okay.
You know what's sort of interesting, by the way?
What's interesting?
They're all drinking Bud Lights?
No. So up on the screen, they put the picture of the Fantasy Focus Twitter stream, right? On the screen. And so you know how Twitter basically does trends, like the trends that are specific for you. So I have my own Twitter stream up here, right? And so like the trending for me is is Terminator Dark Fate, which makes sense. Like I like action movies and everything like that. The number one trend for the Fantasy Focus is Mariah Carey. I have no idea why Mariah Carey is trending in America right now, but
Christmas music, Matthew.
What?
Christmas music, that's why.
Christmas music, right.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey, of course.
Halloween.
So, but just like so, why does Twitter think the Fantasy Focus Twitter handle?
I think you're misinterpreting
you
it.
are.
Like you're looking at because Matthew, hold on.
It says trends for you. What
but
am I
look,
looking?
yours also says Fitbit.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not tailored to you.
No. I'll tell you why it's. I'll be honest with you.
Fitbit stock is way up.
No, Fitbit. So Google acquired Fitbit today.
Right, which is a big acquisition for them.
Big acquisition, and so I am very interested in entrepreneurship, investorship, VC stuff. Like I follow a bunch of VCs,
How
so
do you know this is for you?
It's a trend for me. That's why Fitbit is trending for me, not because I exercise a lot, but because it's an acquisition.
On my screen too.
Right. So I just don't know why Mariah Carey isn't trending for me. That's my point. Or why Mariah Carey is trending for Fantasy Focus.
There's your homework for the weekend.
Right?
Figure out how trends work on Twitter. Everybody else's homework for the weekend is set your lineups and get that W. We are back on Monday with the podcast, but you'll see us on Sunday. Fantasy Football Now, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. Remember, the game starts at 9:30 on Sunday morning.
Yeah, we got a London game, 9:30. Get your lineups in early. He's at Field Yates on Twitter and Instagram. She is at Stephania B87 on Instagram and at Stephania_ESPN on Twitter. He's at Something to Break. Secret Squirrel is at Something to Break on the gram. And at Daniel Dopp on Twitter. At Keith Lipscomb over there on the Twitter, if you'd like to follow Not Cool Keith. And at Kyle Soppy, ESPN on the Twitter. I am at Matthew Berry TMR on all forms of social media, except the Fantasy Life app, where, of course, I'm only at Matthew Berry.
And is it at Jackson and Jello?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? Go ahead, try to spell that.
AJELLO.
One more time.
He doesn't do it right. AJELLO.
A Jello shot.
A Jello.
Okay, Stephania.
Jackson A Jello.
Yes.
I feel like it should be your new
Keith
Twitter
or Kyle,
handle.
are you on
Jello
Twitter?
shot.
Are either of you guys on the gram?
Matthew understands.
Yeah.
I am not on the gram.
Neither
Okay,
is Kyle.
Kyle's not on the gram either. Okay, there you go.
I have nothing
make
to
sure I got
share.
everyone's social media handles.
we're good
in there.
I don't know, Lil Sweet. Maybe you should start posting some photos.
Sweet one.
The sweet one.
For all of us here at the 06710, I hope you had a happy Halloween, happy National Jersey Day.
Bunny, bunny, rabbit, rabbit.
Oh, for the love of
Rabbit,
God.
rabbit.
Peace out.
He's a fantasy guru in a boat on an island, going full Hainsworth without even trying. Award-winning creations